I always knew that this is going to be the end of certainly my career if this goes wrong.
At 2 a.m. on the 6th of November, Shatford deployed his units at the Dome.
What we had to do was smuggle people in, firearms officers, flying squad officers, surveillance officers, in the back of furniture remover lorries or whatever we chose to use. And, you know, we were talking about probably 100 people at a time.
Some of our officers went in pretending to be employees of the Dome. Some donned cleaning uniforms, some donned tour guide style uniform.
I had firearms officers dressed as cleaners. They had their weapons in bin liners moving around.
Shatford and his assistants took their place in the Dome's CCTV control room and waited. At 10 to 7, the first reports came in that the JCB was leaving its hideout.
Vehicle is on the move towards the gates.
As it was getting lighter, we're getting reports, yeah, the JCB, there's movement down at the coal yard. So I thought, this is it. It's all coming now. Let's just prepare for this and let's just get ready.
But as the police waited, they suffered a stroke of bad luck that threatened to wreck the whole operation.
And then just as we're getting reports, yeah, they must be close, there's an accident outside the front of the Dome. We thought, oh, no. The police are called, and we have a traffic car there, blue lights flashing, and worst nightmare. I was just pacing around the room thinking, no, I just can't believe this.
Spooked by the police car, the JCB turned back and the boat withdrew. At the last minute, the raid was off.
Well, they've seen the police, that's it. That must be the end of it. End of story. And we're finished.
Although Shatford thought he'd blown his final opportunity, he decided to have one last look at the tidal charts.
And I thought, well, you know, we've only got the high tide, for we're looking at the maps again, and you know, you try to find virtue in anything when you're up against it. And we thought, well, I suppose you could argue that the tide is slightly higher tomorrow, so it might be that they will go again.
The next morning's high tide would be Shatford's last chance. Not only was the spiralling cost of the huge operation raising eyebrows at the Home Office, but the police had also received news that the operation may have been leaked to the media. Keeping the plan secret for much longer would be impossible.
So I thought, we will deploy tonight, we've got to. And I briefed the officers that night, knowing that this is out there, of course, that there are people in the media that know about this, and this truly is the last shot we've got at this. I say, look, we've been so close, but this is the one. Let's be on our job here. You're going to need to come through.
On the morning of the 7th, officers were again positioned along the route from the coal yard and dug in on the north side of the river. Armed officers in speedboats and police helicopters were also ready and waiting. A hidden ring of steel was now in place around the Dome, the vault and the diamonds.
And then the early morning comes and we get a report through that there was activity at the coal yard. And then we got reports that the boat was on the move.
Police cameras picked up Millman at the wheel.
The boat came down the A13 to be positioned on the far side of the Thames, the north side of the Thames.
Boat driver is looking at the engine of the boat.
The JCB's getting closer. It's at the top of the roundabout. And as they're getting very much closer, and then another report goes, the boat is on the water, it's just done a drive-by. Christ, this is it.
At At 9:29 a.m, as the first tourists were arriving, the JCB, driven by Betson with 3 other robbers hidden in the modified cab, was spotted on the final approach road to the Dome.
It negotiated its way very slowly through the sand and gravel pits that ran adjacent to the Dome. Took up a holding position without breaching the perimeter of the Dome's outside fence.
I asked the security at the Dome to call certain members of staff for a meeting so we could put ourselves in place. Police officers are gradually taking over from Dome staff. And then what happens? But a coachload of children turn up right where we think the robbers are going. It was worst nightmare scenario. The robbers are just minutes away. And as quick as anything, I mean, we got people down there and we just whisked them away.
Just moments later, at 9:33 a.m, the robbers struck.
We've actually got it when we're watching it on CCTV. I can see it now. It starts to rock backwards and forwards, and you think, what's it about? It's getting up its strength.
Then Betson accelerates hard with the JCB and takes out a reinforced concrete pillar that enables him to then crash through the fence.
It was an incredible sight to see. Even at that point, we had no idea that they were going to go this far with the JCB. And then they smashed straight through a 10-15-foot gate. And then, to our absolute horror, they turned and went straight through the side wall of the Dome.
As the JCB careered onwards, the boat began its run towards the Dome's landing stage.
Yeah, floats up off towards the Dome, towards the pier.
The JCB came into the Dome itself and parked directly outside the vault. And then they jumped out of the JCB.
They looked like terrorists, quite frankly, but they had these breathing apparatus on.
Karachi started throwing smoke grenades out.
Amid the confusion, 2 of the robbers ran into the vault. Tim Thorne, watching via video link from De Beers headquarters, was horrified by what happened next.
It looked to me that they were carrying sledgehammers and also something looked like a gun, and fired this gun-shaped thing into the side of the actual display case itself.
Thorne's confidence in the strength of the reinforced glass was about to be shattered.
The other person picked up the sledgehammer and started to hammer away at where the gun had been fired. And it became quite clear that they were now making quite a considerable hole into the side of our display cabinet.
After months of frustration, the moment Shatford had been waiting for had arrived.
Myself and John Swinfield looked at each other, and I can remember we just nodded and, you know, we were agreeing the time is right. Send in the boys.
We've got 2 boats going on it now.
Your way, I suspect you in the middle of the river. Drink, your one's for the Millennium Pier. Your one is for the Millennium Pier.
The gang had been under surveillance for 5 months. The ambush was over in less than a minute. Now it was time for the interrogations and the trial. Although the police had deployed massive force to foil the robbery, the operation passed without a single casualty.
I'm waiting to hear that we've shot someone. And I got the message, no one injured. And I thought, it's here, we've done it.
Betson and Chiarocci were arrested outside the vault.
They gave up without any resistance at all. They were overwhelmed by the police response and the fact that action beats reaction.
Inside the vault, police armed with stun grenades overpowered Cockram and an accomplice.
When you're inside a concrete bunker, basically, and this is what it was, then you can imagine the explosion and the force of the pressure wave from the explosion. And you can see them just topple down as if they're being poleaxed.
The mystery accomplice who wielded the sledgehammer was later identified as Robert Adams, a man with a conviction for attempted murder.
Mr. Adams found time to make a joke of the situation that he was in. Immediately after arrest, he said that he was 12 inches from payday.
Out on the river, the getaway driver, Kevin Meredith, was swamped by armed officers.
He must have thought his life was over, quite frankly, and he was arrested very quickly.
Terence Millman was arrested on the north side of the river, disguised as a workman, waiting for the getaway boat that never arrived. When police later arrested Lee Wenham at Tong Farm, the team could finally relax.
John Swinfield and I went and congratulated each other. We've won, you know, for all the setbacks, we've pulled this off.
The flying squad's biggest operation had ended in stunning success. With the spectacular ambush taking place in public, front page headlines